sometimes it's not God's judgment, it's our judgment wanting it to be God's judgment. I guess is what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
It's how we feel about what they have and what they own and all of that type stuff that's really driving our theology.
Yeah.
Even if he's judging the sin of Hollywood, it's so interesting to me how we get left out of that judgment. Why does God's judgment always center around what happens in the United States? Not only are our homes temporary and can be taken away in a moment, so are our lives. You know, our lives are fleeting. This is the time for the church to demonstrate what the love of Christ looks like in action. What's clear is our call and our command to, you know, meet people where they are and to enter into people's, you know, suffering. All right, welcome to Church Dropout podcast. My name is Alan. I'm joined by
Lisa.
Church Dropout is a podcast. We talk about issues, topics, and teachings related to faith, life, and culture in ways that are sometimes funny, sometimes serious, but always insightful. If you have not already, please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below. Keep the conversation moving forward. So, you know, LA is on fire. Southern California, wildfires are just tearing through Los Angeles. I think the count is up to like 15 that have passed away as a result of the fires. I think some of that is emergency response teams, but tons of damage, tons of people affected directly and indirectly. You know, there's a lot of political implications with, you know, them not having water and, you know, like literally no water's coming out of fire hydrants and stuff like that. But yeah, just a terrifying, terrible, you know, situation. And, you know, there's been talk about why, and this is normal, you know, with any type of, situation like this. I think it's normal, right? To ask why these things happen, right? Human suffering definitely causes us to question, as it should, to some degree, cause us to really think about things. And when these type of, you know, I don't want to say natural disasters, because I think they're investigating it to see if it was actually arson. But when these type of disasters happen, you know, the question comes up of why. And right now, being that this is in Hollywood, you know, or Southern California, parts of Hollywood are affected. A lot of the homes that were affected were in well-to-do neighborhoods where stars live and different things of that sort. Yeah. You have some people saying that this was divine judgment, right? And that this was God's doing. And and this is God's judgment on Hollywood because of all of the stuff that's going on in Hollywood, right? The nastiness, you know, all of the stuff. Yeah. Right. So people are saying, you know, this is divine judgment. I've even heard it being called divine judgment because of, you know, some of the laws and different things that were passed. You know, that God is just not happy. And so this is an act of his judgment. And I don't know, I think we ought to talk about that, you know. So I don't know, what are your thoughts on anything that I've just said so far?
So usually when something, actually bringing that up, it reminds me of, I remember when Katrina happened. Right, exactly. And everybody was like, oh, it's because, you know, of all the stuff that they do in New Orleans. Yep. And all this. New Orleans or New Orleans?
I don't know. I'm really asking.
I just say New Orleans. Yeah, I don't know. I don't say New Orleans. You corrected me on, what was I saying?
You
said New Orleans.
I said New Orleans, but what was I saying the other day? Apostolic?
Apostolic.
Like, I was saying apostolic. You said apostolic.
Yes.
Like, yeah, you're right.
But you might be saying it wrong. I mean, right. I mean, right. Not wrong. I might be saying it wrong. You might be saying it wrong. Right. I could not say you're saying you're right for some reason. My mouth.
Yeah. It's you know, it doesn't surprise me. You cannot say it. You can't say that I'm saying it right. I mean,
It's just like my mouth is just like
you
not
just
forming.
Will not let you say you're right. Really. So now you guys know how to pray. Pray for Lisa. That's crazy. That's crazy.
But I remember all that going around, and people were just saying, this is what they were getting all this for that reason, just for all the sin that was going on in New Orleans,
Yeah. Yeah. And it's interesting, that because this is not just Christians who are thinking this way. This is also just people thinking this way, And anyway, so let me just do this. I was going to look at it quick. This was from, some days back when, people were saying like, man, it's just Armageddon, like what they're actually seeing and different things of that sort. And then we could talk about this further. Okay. All right, so let's take a look at this.
It's Armageddon. I'm driving through a war zone right now, and I don't even know what to say. I'm speechless. I'm shocked. I'm just so sad for our devastated community.
No, I've never seen a firestorm like this. There's no words to even describe how heartbreaking. That's a life. That's your entire life. You don't get that back. The memories are gone. I hope they're alive.
What's gone up in flames? I can't believe I'm standing here. I broke every blockade to get here. It's just so sad. This is insane, but all the multi-million dollars, 30, 40, 50, $100 million beachfront homes are gone on the way here. Gone.
We have well over 5,000 acres that have burned, and the fire is growing. We have no percentage of containment. We have over 1,000 personnel assigned, and the cause of the fire is unknown. However, it is under investigation.
But we did take all of our family pictures and a few valuable paintings out last night. So, all the stuff that's here is replaceable. People are not. So, very lucky. So having the family is the most important thing.
To all of our viewers, please prioritize your safety as well as the well-being of those around you as we come together to continue to get through this widespread disaster.
Okay. Now, I know this is a pretty serious moment, but, just to bring, I guess, a little bit of levity, but I'm trying to listen to him, but then I'm looking at the person who's doing the sign, because they get into it. The way she was doing, I was trying to listen to him, but my eyes just kept kind of reverting to her, because she was like, this was new information for her, and she was just like almost like she wanted to stop and look at him like,
no, Alice.
They get the emotion with the information where he's just talking.
Yeah.
Like all we're getting is calm composure. She's giving them everything.
She was good. She was good. She was good.
Yeah.
But what I did want to point out was these are 30, 40, $100 million homes. Like none of that matters. Whether it was $100,000 home, that's still somebody's home that they lost. You know what I mean? It's no difference in my eyes.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Because I, on the flip side, some people could say, well, they can, that was probably their third home. Like, you know what I'm saying? But still, that's somebody's home. That's somebody's memories. That's somebody's, I don't know, you know what I mean? But it doesn't make a difference whether it's we should be in awe because it's a $30 million home compared to a $300,000 home. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and that's kind of the whole thing when it comes to judgment and stuff like that. Sometimes I feel like it's just, especially when it comes to Christians, it's like, the psalmist, says like, why does the unrighteous prosper and, the righteous don't, right? Like, it's like, there's this thing where it's just like, some people are, upset, like, hey, like, they got these big $1 million expensive homes and, sometimes it's not God's judgment. It's our judgment wanting it to be God's judgment, I guess is what I'm saying, right?
Yes.
It's how we feel about what they have and what they own and all of that type stuff. That's really driving our theology.
Yeah.
It's not God.
Yeah.
It's us. It's what we would do. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like it's really exposing us. And it's like, no, this is how we would handle sin. This is how we would judge sin. We would just destroy. You know what I mean? Oh, you want to disrespect God, disrespect people, and do all of this? You know what I mean? Like that we flame it up, right? And I think sometimes, we stand in place of God, and I think that's how these conversations start to some degree too. Is like it's what we desire to see as judgment. And I get it. Like, well, first, I think we have to be careful because we are getting the information that's being passed to us. And so all media cares about is celebrities.
Yes.
All media cares about is individuals who have money. So that's all they show. So all they show is the faces of individuals who's lost their houses and stuff like that. I mean, my dad, who's, in his 80s, right? And he's watching the news and, and he likes sports, so he tells me, he's like, yeah, JJ Redick's home, burnt up, I'm like, but that's what they're reporting. They're like, they're going to report famous individuals, and because that's all they seem to talk about. So the idea can be that only those individuals are the ones who are suffering. Only those individuals are the ones whose homes have been, destroyed in this. Yeah. Where, we were watching something the other day, and these were just, typical homes, like homes in our neighborhood. Yeah. Where people were standing on their roof trying to, wet down their roof and keep the embers from flying over. And they're like, we couldn't even get fire insurance. They're like, our insurance company will not give us fire insurance. Right. Wow. And so they're trying to save their home because the home is gone. I even heard that there are people who are going around who are calling these people and offering them money right now just for the land. That's why some people believe it's a land grab too. Like they're just like, they're calling them saying, hey, we'll give you $700,000, $800,000, right now. We'll pay it off right now. You can sign it over to us because they know once all of this is over, investors are going to go in there and just buy up the land, which is unfortunate too. Yeah, right. Yeah. But anyway, I just say that to say, like, I agree, doesn't matter how expensive the home is if it's a home, and again, like even when you look at the news report, I mean, the man said, hey, we got some things out, we got some expensive paintings. People see that and go, oh my, like, oh yeah, that's what you care. You know what I mean? Or the lady who was saying all these multi-million-dollar homes that were once beachfront homes are now gone. Right. But that's her reality. Yeah. Yeah. It's not my reality. Right. You see, right. But again, because of how we feel, and I'm just talking about humans in general who covet what other people have, look at that and say, no, that's God's judging. Yeah. And that's the danger with stuff like this. Yeah. Is whenever God's judging, even if he's judging the sin of Hollywood, it's so interesting to me how we get left out of that judgment. Like we depersonalize sin. Oh, they're sinning. You know what I mean? That Hollywood as a collective is sinning. Well, no, individuals commit sin. Right. Now, I'm not saying that there can't be something collectively going on that's pushing sin forward, right? Like an industry, right? Yeah. We have plenty of those. But, I mean, if God is judging sin, he's not just judging sin in Hollywood. Right. If that's the case. Exactly. Right. Yeah. And Hollywood is in America. Why is he only judging Hollywood? Right. Right. And then why would this be God's judgment? Like, why does God's judgment always center around what happens in the United States? Like, yeah. what happens here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, so, God is, judging Hollywood because he cares. And I don't mean he doesn't care about the people in Hollywood. I think he does, but I'm saying like he cares so much about what happens in Hollywood that he's judging the sins of Hollywood. And that could be, okay, well, people's eyes are on that. So God is going to judge that because people's eyes are on it. I get all of that. But yeah, God seems to care a whole lot about what's happening in the United States and not all over the world.
Right.
Right. I don't remember people talking this way about the tsunami when the tsunami hit. I remember people talking about that was a land grab and stuff like that, but I don't remember people talking about judgment. But I don't know.
So when people say like even that, and I know we're getting off topic, but even with that, and they say that that's a land grab. So you saying people force the ocean to come up on the land? Like, you know what I mean? That just, it's just not, the math ain't mathin' for me. You know what I mean? Like, I just don't get that.
Yeah. We live in what is that called? A conspiracy theorist kind of reality.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And I think that's interesting too. Like when you start talking about conspiracy theories and different things of that sort, I think this points back to scripture in the idea that there's evil in the world. Like we don't need conspiracy theories to help us to understand that evil exists.
Right.
I mean, we war not against flesh and blood, but against spirit and principalities that govern, and so, but yeah, that's that conspiracy theory stuff. So people think that this fire was set. I mean, I heard something about they arrested a guy who had a blowtorch, a homeless man who had a blowtorch. And I don't know if he was setting things on fire. And they were just like, somebody put in the comments, who gave him the blowtorch? You see what I'm saying? So the man came down and, saw a man on there and said, hey, here's $1,000 and tossed him a blowtorch. Get the torching, like, I don't know.
Yeah.
But that's what people, feel. So I don't know. I don't think that this is God's judgment on Hollywood. I think in Jesus, God has already judged Hollywood. God will judge all things final.
Right.
But I don't think that this is God's, judgment. Now, what I do believe Christians ought to do is what the prophets did, is look at calamity and look at disasters and look at these things and bring about truth in them, and call people to repentance as a result of what we're seeing, right? You see people like the man who hugged his family and hugged his kids. It's like, okay, what really matters here? Right. Not only are our homes temporary and can be taken away in a moment, so are our lives. Our lives are fleeting.
Yes.
And so there's another type of, there's something else, right? That we ought to be thinking about here. Right. And so, yeah, we should, as believers, look at these situations in a way that, points people towards the truth.
Yeah.
But I don't think we need to call it God's judgment in order to do that.
Yeah.
I don't think we need to scare people into believing in God.
Yeah.
Right. And so there's no definitive way where we could know that this is actually God's judgment. I don't know who starts saying these things, but there's no particular way to even know that. God has not made it clear, except what he says in scripture, and God is not judging the world in the same way that he did before. Again, he will reconcile and there will be a final judgment of all things. But God is redeeming the world through Christ right now, and sin has been judged in him. And so, I don't know. I think what we need to do as Christians is be the church. We cannot know for sure what God's hand is in this, but one thing we can know for sure is what our call is.
Right. Yes.
And that we're called to love and to serve and to move closer and to move towards.
Yes.
And so, this is the time for the church to demonstrate what the love of Christ looks like in action, and by word. And so I think there are some organizations, again, I was looking I don't know any, it's sad to say this, I don't know of any like legit, organizations that we can stamp.
Yeah.
Say this is, but I think City Serve in Southern California is helping out. I'm sure that there are churches that, or gathering communities, churches that are helping out with this. We did look for ways to support financially, obviously through prayer. Those communities that are committed to helping those who are actually suffering. But that's where we can stand in the gap. We can, take a step back from trying to figure out whether or not this is God and actually do what's clear.
Right.
And what's clear is our call and our command to, meet people where they are and to enter into people's, suffering. So, any final words?
You summed it all up.
All right. Thank you again, tuning in for the Church Dropout, to the Church Dropout podcast. Like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Drop a comment below. Keep the conversation moving forward. Thank you so much for tuning in. God bless.
Good night.